thank you for coming today. He's presenting to obviously Young Urban Planners Club as well as everybody else who chose to attend this morning. Mr. Goedeker is the executive director of St. Louis Midtown Redevelopment Corporation, the master developer of the Midtown neighborhood. He has overseen several projects in the neighborhood, including the new St. Louis Foundry, the St. Louis Armory, and the Steel Coat Lofts projects. Prior to his work, Mr. Goedeker was director of the Park Central development, which invested over $2.2 billion in redevelopment projects into the Grove neighborhood and parts of the Central West End. Mr. Goedeker has also worked in other major U.S. cities as a project developer through Urban Strategies, a nonprofit that specializes in human services development and neighborhood revitalization. As part of his continued concern for community welfare, the Midtown Redevelopment Corporation tracks workforce participation goals for women and minority groups to ensure that neighborhood redevelopment projects demonstrate practices of inclusivity. Mr. Goedeker holds a master's in social work from St. Louis University and a master's in nonprofit organizational management from Washington University in St. Louis. Hope that works.
Yeah.
All right, let me detach this.
Is it okay if I start talking while you do?
Yeah, go right ahead, and then I'll get this all figured out.
So first, thank you guys for being here during your activity period. I know how important that is to catch up on your homework and that sort of thing. So thank you. I graduated from this great institution back in 1998. I was just reminded I had my 25-year high school reunion coming up, so that is very scary. So just kind of get a lay of the land. How many freshmen do we have here? A couple sophomores, all right, juniors, and seniors. Cool. All right, good mix here. So, kind of the first slides that you'll see here. I grew up in the Dutchtown neighborhood in the city of St. Louis. So I lived there until I was 18 years old. I'll show that on a map here. I used to take the bus
and Grant Thornberry, please come to the foreign language office now. Brandon Weineke and Grant Thornberry.
Dutchtown made the national news about a year ago when they were holding a safety conference here in St. Louis. Mayor Jones was there in the neighborhood giving a talk to the press and that about what was going on in St. Louis and kind of the successes of some of the safety issues in St. Louis. And gunshots rang out while she was giving that talk, in the broad daylight there. The amazing thing is, when I grew up in Dutchtown and lived there till I was 18 years old, this is again 25 years ago, never once heard gunshots, And so now Dutchtown neighborhood has the most gun violence of any neighborhood in the city. So does anybody, just real quick on what you guys studied, does anybody know how many neighborhoods we have in the city of St. Louis? Yes. Yep, 79. So 79 neighborhoods, good job there. Let's see that works here. Okay, so Dutchtown is one of the largest, geographically one of the largest neighborhoods, but then it's also one of the most densely populated, and it probably now has one of the most concentrations of poverty also in the neighborhood there. Okay, so Dutchtown, where I work now, St. Louis University, Midtown, only exactly 5 miles down Grand Boulevard to the south. Here's Dutchtown. I live in the Holly Hills neighborhood right here. It's exactly 1 mile from where I grew up there. Just to kind of give you my background on things. Here's again that press conference that happened this time last year. I lived across the street from this church and parish. Has anybody ever been to St. Cecilia's? Maybe for a Friday Lenten, having fish tacos or that there. So St. Cecilia's, absolutely beautiful church there, has the second most mosaics of any church in the city, next to the new cathedral there at St. Cecilia's. So that's where I went and as a youth in that there. This is just kind of getting the lay of the land of St. Louis and what we're working with here. When you go to other cities, when you go to Chicago or New York or Boston, and then you're like, wow, isn't this great? Look at this. You got all these different, stores on the corners, and you got all of this density that's there. And wow, they have awesome public transportation as part of it too. And why don't we have these things in St. Louis? So St. Louis is known as the most sprawl of any city, any region, not only in this country, but in the world, what has happened here, okay? So we've been at that 2.9 million people here in the region for a very, very long time. If we had grown just like a normal city in the country, we should be about at 4.3 million people now here in St. Louis. So we're stagnant here. And where the problems end up coming out to with it is, while we're stagnant, people keep moving farther and farther out from the city core and that. So you go ahead and you look at these numbers, it's pretty amazing when you start looking at it. Here's the city of St. Louis. You can see that from the way back there. We reached a high point in 1950 at 856,000 people, okay? You go ahead and you look over here, St. Charles County at that time had 29,000 people, okay? Now you go ahead and look, 2010 was the first time that St. Charles County actually beat the population of the city of St. Louis. So now you look at it in St. Charles County, Jefferson County, that's, just continues to grow. St. Louis County is actually losing population for the first time ever. So you're going to see more problems popping up in St. Louis County in that. So you think, okay, well, why is that a problem? Why don't people want to go ahead and move out to safer neighborhoods, to better schools and all of that? And, really, I'm sure just like your parents or grandparents and that, you can't blame people for wanting to go ahead and leave those issues in that. But when you think about it, what does that do for our region as part of it? So here's a map looking at red dots are people that have left or are probably going to leave by this time by 2035. And then you can see all the green dots where they're moving to. All right, so just that sprawl that's happening. Well, you can't have good public transportation, you can't have density, you can't have these different markets, in the corners when this is occurring here, because you don't have the population to go ahead and support those things. So then you kind of say, okay, realize that, okay, great, we don't have the public transportation, we don't got the cool density that some of these other cities have. But what are the other problems associated with that? Some of the other problems are you have to go and pay for the infrastructure to go ahead and get out there to where now people are living. When Highway Interstate 364 was built, what I was told, this is when I was in grad school, what I was told is for what that cost to get out to St. Charles County and that, you could have went ahead and replaced every street, alley, and sidewalk in the city of St. Louis for what it cost for that, okay? And again, these are just kind of, issues that can be debated and, what do you do about all these things? The other thing though, we're continuing to do these things. So now that the governor has said, we need $860 million to go for I-70. $860 million, think about what that could do for St. Louis City, St. Louis County and that. But because of what we have is, again, jobs and people and that moving out of our region, creating that sprawl, you got to go ahead and pay for the infrastructure as part of that too. And then you kind of look at it and say like, wow, does that mean we're actually subsidizing housing and businesses for moving out and going to those areas? So there's, again, just kind of topics to think about as we look at it. The other thing that is happening now, when you go ahead and build in those areas, a lot of it you're building in what used to be floodplains, used to be, farm fields and that, where you went ahead and said, that's where the Mississippi, Missouri River, kind of overflowed into those farmlands and they had the farmers. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing because that creates, rich soil and all that as part of it. Well, now when you're building on that, there's no place for the water to go. So that's where you're going to see more flooding that has been happening over the last several years in that, in the city core as part of it too. So anyway, big region issues that we're looking at here. The city of St. Louis, prior to the pandemic, had a $10 million shortfall. That's because there's not enough tax revenue to go ahead and cover all of the expenses for the city. What has saved the city for the short term is pandemic relief. So, you probably heard about these ARPA funds and stimulus funds and that. coming in. My prediction is that the city of St. Louis will probably face bankruptcy in the next 3 to 4 years if we don't go ahead and figure out, the tax base and that. Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
You say like 10 million shortfall. Where are they like falling short? Like estimated revenue or what is it?
Yeah, so that's the general budget for the city. When you come in, you go ahead and you have your expenses for the schools, for the police, for the fire, for the infrastructure improvements, for the water department, trash pickup, all of those things. You have a general budget that you need to go ahead and meet. And in 2019, they were $10 million under meeting those necessary needs. And if you live in the city of St. Louis, which I have my whole life, you kind of see there's not a lot left to cut. You got your basic services there, and what else are you going to remove? So your budget is stagnant. There's nothing left to go ahead and cut in the expense side. So what you need to go ahead and do is, how do you grow the revenue? How do you go ahead and get more people to go ahead and work in the city, to get more retail sales tax in the city, all of those things. Okay. So those are kind of just, again, big issues to look at. The city of Detroit, they went ahead and filed, bankruptcy in that. I've heard city leaders say, maybe we just need to go ahead and do the same thing in the city of St. Louis. Look at, filing bankruptcy at some point and getting our act together and kind of starting over with things. And Detroit has had some good success following their, bankruptcy 10 years ago or so. Does anybody know this photo here? Just kind of switching gears for a minute again. Where is this from? If anybody can look at it and kind of guess. So I'm just going to show you a couple things that are here. Well, there's the Carp's department store. You can get any kind of home good supplies that you wanted here. A record store, the Manchester Theater. There was a Schnucks and Woolworths right here. I think it was the second Schnucks ever in St. Louis. 3 women's clothing stores, 2 men's clothing stores here, even an athletic store, pet shop was all on this street right here. So I heard somebody say the Grove. Yes. So this is the Grove back in the 1950s, okay? 100 parcels on the street between Kings Highway and Vandeventer, and every one of those 100 parcels had some kind of retail business in them. At this point too, on Vandeventer is where the trolley line ran. So it connected all of these different neighborhoods right into the Grove area here. And the Grove area, which is called the Forest Park Southeast neighborhood, had 10,000 people living in it at this time. Okay, so this is in the 1950s. Fast forward to when I came here as an intern, right out of when I was in grad school, getting my master's in social work at SLU. And I drove down this street for the first time in 2002, and I said, where the hell am I? I went to SLU High School, right down the street, from there, took the bus every day on Kings Highway, went to South City. I had never been down this street before, and you would almost think that tumbleweeds were going to start blowing down the street, that it was that vacant. 100 parcels again. In 2002, there was only 6 storefronts, only 6 retailers here. Everything, all the other buildings that were left, you would walk into them and you'd actually fall to the basement because there was no stairs, there was no floors left, just shells of buildings. This is how quickly neighborhoods can go ahead and deteriorate. When people move out, when businesses move out, when all of that just, tax base, people investing, taking care of properties, this is what can happen. We had, looking at it, in 1960s, the neighborhood started turning very quickly. In 1960s, that same photo that we had here, those businesses started moving out, kind of those first retail businesses, and what ended up coming in the 1960s were bars, pawn shops, secondhand stores, and that as early as the 1960s that you saw this happen. So my work here in the neighborhood, I lived, breathed this neighborhood for 15 years, okay? Did everything that could go ahead and do to help this neighborhood. Social and human services for all the residents, attracting developers and businesses to the area. Just really, in my opinion, still one of the maybe the best renaissances, changes that we ever had, from one of the worst neighborhoods to now one of the best neighborhoods in this city. And what I can tell you guys here is none of it is rocket science. It is about having somebody there, having somebody on the ground, working with the community, listening to the community, and doing whatever they can to handhold and help developers, help businesses come in and give them, whatever assistance you can provide, while at the same time dealing with quality of life issues, meaning safety and security, creating better parks, picking up the trash, adding beautification, improvements to the neighborhood, helping residents get jobs, all of those kinds of things here. So I was the project manager for the Grove signs. Went ahead and put up the first Grove sign in 2009, the second one in 2010. We came up with the Grove name in 2005, and we spent all this money on advertising in that. Here's the new Grove neighborhood, and that it used to be called the Manchester Strip, now it's called the Grove neighborhood. No one still knew, after thousands of dollars of spending on advertising, no one knew where the Grove was until they drove underneath this for the first time. And they were stopping on their bikes or on foot and saying, "Oh, I've been hearing about the Grove. I drive this every day. I didn't realize this is where it was." So, you need signage, you need placemaking, you need branding to go along, with these neighborhoods now. So I could talk about the Grove all day long. This is, again, what it looked like in 2002. This is what it looks like today. It went from 6 businesses to now 86 businesses that are on the street here, and those 100 parcels of property. You're hard pressed to get a home now that's less than $400,000 in the neighborhood. When we started, you could probably buy any property for $40,000. We took a look at it and made sure that it was a mixed income neighborhood. So made sure that at least 20% of the neighborhood stayed affordable, and worked with the low income tax credit program in the state of Missouri and that to go ahead and do that. And what we ended up doing was, from the 2010 census to the 2020 census, this is one of like 6 neighborhoods that grew in population out of those 79 neighborhoods in the city of St. Louis. Okay. All the other neighborhoods in the city either stayed the same from 2010 to 2020 or lost more population. Only about 6 neighborhoods grew in population. So in 2010, we had 2,900 people. Remember, back in the 1950s, there was 10,000 people that lived there. And now this neighborhood has grown to about 4,800 people. And we'll probably cap out about 6,000 people when all said and done. Right. So there I am from 2002 to 2017 over the Grove, working in the Central West End neighborhoods and that. And then Dr. Costello, who's the president of St. Louis University, came to campus, came to St. Louis University 8 years ago. And he said, "Wow, look what WashU has done around their campuses, both on their main campus with the Loop and U City and Richmond Heights and Skinker of Oliver neighborhoods, and then the medical center with the Grove and the Central West End and that." And both of those institutions, and that's why it's so important that SLU High stays here in the city, St. Louis University stays here in the city. You'll see these institutions, they get back and they want to make sure that the neighborhoods around them are also good. So it makes sense. Dr. Costello, the president of SLU, comes to campus 8 years ago and he says, "Wow, this is a beautiful campus. The students here are so lucky to go ahead and be able to live and learn here. But what's going on around the campus? Why is it that Midtown St. Louis has all of these vacancies? There's no retail. There's no places for the students to hang out and go to for entertainment. There's not places for people to live in that." And you think about it, most midtowns around the country, you don't just go there for school or for healthcare. You actually go there for retail and entertainment and liveliness and that. And we were missing that in St. Louis for a very long time. So Dr. Costello, set out his vice presidents there to begin working with the city and the state. And after 2 years' time, in March 2017, so 6 years ago, right in the same month, formed the St. Louis Midtown Redevelopment Corporation. And the St. Louis Midtown Redevelopment Corporation is called a Chapter 353 Redevelopment Corporation. And that means that both the state of Missouri and the city of St. Louis have given SLU and its hospital partner, SSM Health, who oversees SLU Hospital and Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, the development rights over what happens in this 400-acre area here. They said, SLU, you've been in the city for 200 years. Yeah, you should probably have rights over what happens around your campus to make sure that it's good stuff happening there. And because I was the guy working west of Vandeventer, SLU said, can you come and help us east of Vandeventer? So this just kind of continued my work there from the Grove in the central west end, and now I've been able to go ahead and cross Vandeventer and work here for the last 6 years.
So
Yes.
Midtown in this context doesn't mean Midtown neighborhood, it means this place in the blue.
Yeah. So Midtown neighborhood for that 79 neighborhoods is actually Shoto Avenue to Lindell. Okay, so here. So just kind of get your bearings. This is Grand Boulevard. It goes all the way to Laclede Avenue to SLU's main campus, what they call the North Campus. It extends to Vandeventer Avenue right to IKEA, and then all the way south to Interstate 44, and then east to Compton here. Like Chaffetz Arena is right up here in that, if you've been to a basketball game and that at SLU. So the Midtown neighborhood is actually this area right here. This, where the School of Medicine is called the Gate District neighborhood. And then where the SLU Hospital and Cardinal Glennon are, this is the Tiffany neighborhood. Okay, so we actually have 3 neighborhoods within our jurisdiction there. So I'm gonna jump into that answer your question. Yeah. So this is when I started 6 years ago. This is what you saw when you came through Midtown. It was like, oh great, we live out in West County, going to Chesterfield, going to a ball game on Interstate 64, Midtown, Graffitiville. That's what it was here. And you had this building here, was owned by Federal Mogul out of Michigan. They produced rotary parts and other car parts for the Ford plant in Hazelwood here in town. When the Ford plant left St. Louis in 2006 and moved to Mexico, this also shut down. 15-acre, just kind of eyesore, right at Forest Park in Vandeventer, right across from IKEA, right next to St. Louis University's campus here, just eyesore. Again, what does the city do about this? Manufacturing leaves and that. What do you do with this 15-acre brownfield project and that? So you got to go ahead and try to find somebody that can do something with it, incentivize them to go ahead and take on such a large project in that. Luckily, go ahead. Yes.
So is the reason they don't take it down is it's not cost efficient?
Yeah, again, you look at this $10 million shortfall. The city doesn't have proactive funds to go ahead and help these things along.
So does the city not own that property?
No, so this is a private developer came in, Steve Smith, who's an architect with the Lawrence Group that formed that, done some great projects in downtown and the Grand Center area by the Fox Theater. His son went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and there in Atlanta they had 2 food halls pop up in their kind of Midtown area and in their core area there of the city. He's like, why don't we, St. Louis, have a food hall? This is really great. This is great for the local economy because these are all local restaurateurs that are coming together and kind of doing test kitchens and trying out things with the public and that. We need that for St. Louis, and what better place to have that than is in Midtown and right next to St. Louis University as part of it. So he actually tells a story that he snuck in to the Foundry area back in 2015, 2016, and saw this inside of it. Saw this. This is a photo that I took back in 2016. The developer Steve Smith took me through here, and he goes, Brooks, guess what? This is where St. Louis's first food hall is going to go. And I was just like, Steve, you're great, but this is crazy. I don't want to eat here. Who wants to eat here? Who wants to prepare food here? But luckily, he, is a visionary in that, and is a risk taker, and he'll admit it. He's a risk taker, and that's how he, lives his life in that. So got the property. I helped him actually get the property from this group from Michigan to go ahead and get it under contract, and that took a long time to go ahead and get the financing lined up, because there's not banks that are just like, yes, go ahead and take these risks and we'll give you money to go ahead and take the risk, and who knows if you can pay it back or not. But this is a $360 million project right here, okay? So they finally, even through a pandemic, opened up the food hall in the summer of 2021. Has anybody been to the food hall, City Foundry Food Hall? Okay, good. You guys helped bring 1 million people through the food hall in the first year of being open. 1 million people, all right? That's more than goes to the Blues games each year. So right here, the food hall brought in 1 million customers within the first year. So between summer 2021 and summer 2022, 1 million people. Now we've had about 1.7 million people that have gone through the food hall here. And what this means, again, for the local economy, 18 restaurateurs currently. It will go up to 20 restaurateurs when all said and done. 40% are owned by people of color. 33% are owned by women. And this is life-changing for these restaurant owners. This is our local economy here, and all of you guys have been supporting them over the last year and a half as part of this, okay? Then you go ahead, now we have 14 retailers, local retailers that have opened up shop here. Women's clothing stores, sanctioned sneakers, an athletic store, Goedeker is actually all women-made products here in St. Louis. There's like 60 different women-made products that they go ahead and feature at the store now. Big Shark Bicycle just opened up last week there, so you can buy bikes and you can get your bike repaired there now at Big Shark. 14 local retailers. This may be the biggest concentration of local retailers that we have in the city of St. Louis all together like this, because the city of St. Louis doesn't have a lot of retailers. We are, a retail desert when it comes to the city. So when you talk about that tax base and that, well, you think about it, SLU and the students there were being shuttled to Target out in Brentwood for the last 20 years. So even the SLU student body wasn't spending their retail dollars in the city as part of this. So now we're finally starting to go ahead and get traction that retailers want to go ahead and move into this area now. Fresh Time Market went ahead and opened in November 2021. Beautiful grocery store. If you ever get a chance to go in there, and when you go in there, look at the ceiling of it. They spent 6 months going ahead and stripping down that ceiling and putting it back together, staining it and that. Beautiful. Just like this was the administrative building for the city boundary, and now it's a 35,000 square foot grocery store there. The SLU students love it. They come over, about 50% of the customer base here is SLU students. Lots of fresh fruit, vegetables, butcher shop, sushi deals every Thursday. They got a sushi bar. It's like buy one, get one free or something every Thursday. So it's very popular. A cafe as part of this. The back side of the food hall is now a reception facility. So more people coming into the area, coming into the food hall, into the city foundry. This goes ahead and seats 300 people and then 500 people for standing. I love showing this photo here because remember that graffiti wall that I showed you before? That's what this used to be. That's on the other side of it along Interstate 64 there. As part of this project, they had to totally rebuild that whole wall there and rebuild it, and then they put in triple pane glass. You can see the cars zooming by on Interstate 64. You can't hear anything. So it's really cool, really great investment there. 18 rails. Alamo Drafthouse movie theater just opened up right before the Christmas season. If you haven't been there yet, check it out. Take your girlfriend to go see a movie here. It's a good date night experience. They don't have a concession stand. You go to your seat and you go ahead and order from your seat right there. So big menu. They are open for brunch and that. The other thing, you don't have to tell your girlfriend this, but they have that $19.99 a month, $19.99 a month membership. You can go see any movie anytime. It costs $15 to go see a movie, so why not just be a member? And you can cancel it at any time and stuff too. But $19.99 a month, go ahead and be a member there at Alamo Draft House. This is the 22nd Alamo Draft House in the country, first in St. Louis. Putt Shack also opened before the holiday season. Anybody been to Putt Shack yet? Is it cool, fun? Yeah. So it is like a Dave and Buster's, but with mini golf. So they go right now. They got 18 holes. They'll open up the second set of 18 holes on the second floor in a couple of weeks. Nice bar, restaurant is part of it. You go ahead and book online your 9 holes. If you want to do another 9, it's half price after that. What we're building again is entertainment, like family entertainment. This is again, why come to Midtown? All of these different things now that are happening here. Sandbox Virtual Reality is right next to Putt Shack, just on the east side of the food hall there. That's where you actually become a part of the video game experience. You go bring 5 of your friends here and go fight zombies and aliens. And you put all these ankle bracelets and wrist bracelets and that, and you're part of the video game experience for 35 minutes. What college student doesn't want to go do this? Leave their homework for a little bit and go do this here. City Winery opens on March 18th. This is one that you can go ahead and tell your parents about. This is a 21 up club here. And these are 2 WashU grads that have opened up 8 other of these around the country. Nashville, Chicago, Boston, San Francisco, New York. And they want to go ahead and bring one back to St. Louis. They produce all of their own wine here. Tom, I know you're going to want to check that out. Get your good wine. 5 nights a week, they go ahead and have live entertainment. And it's a cool concept because they go ahead and those other 8 locations, they book one line of entertainment and then they go around to all 9 locations as part of it. So we're going to get some really nice entertainment that's here as part of it. They have brunch on the weekends and all of that. So City Winery. Here's another cool one. Your photo here. Here's Dr. Costello. We gave him a tour back in the summer of the City Foundry, kind of updating him on everything. When Steve Smith bought this, did not realize there was a basement underneath the food hall area. So he goes out and buys this building, and it's filled with water below this food hall. They drain it all out and realize there was a full basement underneath the food hall. So this is 2 doors down from the food hall. There's a light above the door. If the light is green, you can pull this open. You walk in here, it's this electric panel. You go ahead and push a button, you pull that open, you go down a stairwell, and that is the City Foundry Speakeasy that will be opening up in April. So really cool speakeasy, 1920s theme to it, mahogany wood and everything there. Then on the back side of the speakeasy in the basement still, they have a room that's 35 foot wide by 250 feet long. So almost like a football field length there. They're talking about putting the longest table in the state of Missouri that would go there, and then they could go ahead and seat like 500 people at one table there. So they could go out there and rent it out and everything. So these are cool. Like this, thank God somebody came in and saved this and turned it into something really cool for the SLU community and the whole St. Louis community as part of this. Just moving along quickly here, City Foundry Phase 2 is being developed right now across from IKEA. 30,000 square feet more of retail here, 272 apartment units. This backside building is 80,000 square feet more of office space. So you can see it here, the office space. When they opened right at the beginning of the pandemic in May 2020, 100,000 square feet of office space was leased up and people moved in there at that point. So this almost doubles the office space as part of the City Foundry, which is again great, more jobs, more internship possibilities for SLU students, all of that's happening right here. Cortex, I think, you got a tour of Cortex?
Yeah.
The Cortex, is right across the street here. Cortex has 7,000 jobs right now. That's hopefully going to grow to about 15,000 jobs over the next 5 years. But this is, again, where companies, good thing, want to go ahead and locate now and want to have a presence at. Element Hotel went ahead and opened back in, again, right at the beginning of the pandemic. This was in November 2020. 153 extended stay rooms as part of it. All the rooms have kitchenettes. The people that stay here now can go to Fresh Time Market across the street, get things, and go ahead and cook. When parents come to visit their kids at SLU, they can, home cook a meal that happens for them here. Lots of amenity spaces as part of it, grills and fireplaces, outdoors, pool, fitness area. Above it again, these are fun things when you become 21 that you can go to. Cocktail lounge called Up Bar. So they have tapas and that, and they have these great 360-degree views at the top of this on the 7th floor there. This building here is just south of the Foundry development, right across the highway there. So this is just, anybody know what this is real quick before I say it? All right, good. That's
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So the Armory building, built in 1938 to host the Missouri National Guard infantry, and this almost saw the wrecking ball about 15 different times. This is the largest standing armory building in the country. This amazing history to it. It was a concert venue. James Brown, Ike and Tina Turner and that performed there. This guy came to St. Louis because of the Armory building. This is Arthur Ashe, still the only black man who's ever won Wimbledon. He credited the Armory building for helping him win Wimbledon. It was always an integrated building in that there. 14 Wimbledon champions have played at this building here. So anyway, developers took it on. 80,000 square foot new roof, 2 acres of new roof that they had to put on it, all the tuck pointing windows. This is what it is now, just this amazing space to it. They're putting a roller rink in the basement of the building right now, working on that. Going to have some dance clubs in the basement of it too. Largest screen in the Midwest. So if you guys haven't been there yet for a football or soccer game, hockey game, but this is the largest screen in the Midwest, 4 times bigger than what's at Ballpark Village. Okay. This is the second phase of the Armory, more apartment units coming into the area. Humphreys, we were able to work with operators there to go ahead and reopen that. That's known as SLU's watering hole. So we got that back up and operational in fall of this last year. This is our first building that was finished within the area, Steel Coat Lofts. This building was vacant since 1972. So worked with the developer to get that back up and open in 2018. 33 apartment units. All 33 apartment units leased up within 60 days of this being open. So we really knew that we had something here going on. This is a photo I took of it beforehand. This is again, what it looks like today. You got the building to the south, went ahead and built this building to the west, had this great amenity deck as part of it. And then the same developer went ahead and sold them this property on Grand, and now building a Target store there. Target will open up in October. Target will generate $2.2 million a year in sales tax revenue for the city and 225 jobs. Topgolf, that we also attracted to the area here at Choteau and Compton, that will open up in August 2023. That will generate $2 million a year in sales tax revenue for the city and 425 jobs as part of this. So these are big things, not only for SLU, not only for Midtown, but really for the whole entire city, what's going on right here, right now. I'll try to get to when I went here, we hear this all the time, right? Men for others, people for others, Jesuit mission, we gotta live it. We gotta go out there and live it. If you all worked in the city of St. Louis and did some of this stuff, community development, wherever you could, lending a hand, it would help tremendously with the turnaround. I believe still one of our biggest problems that we have in the city is we don't have enough good leaders. I think our leadership is lacking in a lot of areas. So kind of put that in the back of your mind. You can work in the city. You can go ahead and affect change. And you can see how just myself and working with these institutions and that, how change can happen. And I'm not the smartest guy in the room. You guys, I'm sure, are all smarter than me, but as part of this. Now, when I went to social work school, this is what they talk about. Your primary responsibility is to promote the well-being of clients. In my line of work, the clients are the residents, the community as part of it, okay? So when you are meant for others, that doesn't mean you just go in and you go ahead and say, great, I'm gonna do this, this, and that. No, you have to go into a community and you actually have to listen to the community and hear from them and hear what their needs are as part of it. So I maybe don't have time to talk about all this, but that's what we've done in the Gate District neighborhood. Listen to them with new homes, home repair program, preserving these buildings that almost saw the wrecking ball that the residents wanted to go ahead and see saved. We have a great program at SLU called Habitat for Neighborhood Business, where we support minority entrepreneurs and business owners in the city with all these wraparound services as part of it. 55 business owners now in the city. Work on the safety and security for the neighborhood, the cleaning and maintenance. And then kind of the last thing, where we talk about this is Midtown. It is now this area between the two campuses is called Prospect Yards. So just like we did for the Grove, where Forest Park Southeast is the neighborhood, Grove is, the Manchester Avenue now. Prospect Yards is the area in between the two campuses. So if you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you can go ahead and like Prospect Yards and stay up to date with everything that's going on. There's so much happening. We update it 2 or 3 times a day as part of it. You'll see signage that's going up this year, trash cans that go up next month, painting the fire hydrants, doing all that placemaking stuff. I love entry markers and signs, so gonna have these at Forest Park and Vandeventer and Grandin and Shoto. And that is my abbreviated version of that last part of it there.